The majority leader is saying this is wrapping up. Do you have any concerns that this investigation hasn't gone far enough or that it's not large enough? Your thoughts?
I think Jeff did something significant for the Senate and our country in hitting the pause button for a week and in asking that the FBI be allowed to pursue those credible complaints that were in front of the committee. I am concerned. There's a significant number of people who've been trying to reach the FBI to testify and who have not been able to. Some who I think are really directly relevant to the allegations in front of the committee. Well, they've never questioned Dr. Ford, for example, which surprised me. And I think they haven't followed up on Debbie Ramirez's questioning from last weekend. I recognize this was meant to be limited in scope and time. I look forward to reading the report. My hope is that they haven't yet concluded and they will be doing a few more witnesses.
Is the investigation valid if Dr. Ford doesn't get interviewed?
You know, I think that's a judgment all senators are going to have to make as a group. She did testify to the committee for several hours. I just think even though we've got a lot of lawyers on the committee, it's quite different to have us questioning than to have professionals from the FBI. I would have thought they might have started with an interview of her. And
to help me out, because folks outside of Washington, I mean, the whole country last week was captivated by this, was gripped by this. And then the notion that this FBI report won't be made public and that senators will be making this judgment call and then very quickly after voting, is that right? I mean, in the name of transparency, or is that normal?
Here's what's normal, is that the FBI does background investigations where they are questioning people with the expectation that interview will remain confidential. I do think it'd be appropriate for there to be a summary report that doesn't list all the specific individuals and what they said by individual, but says generally, here are the facts that were presented to the committee. The FBI does not reach conclusions. That's up to senators.
Do you think we're going to get a summary report that's made
I don't
public?
know that yet.
Have you been? Is that something that's being discussed, I guess?
It is being discussed. There's been a number of press interviews and conversations between senators about exactly in what form this should be presented to the Senate.
You know, with regards to, I went back to Philadelphia over the weekend for a wedding, and then, you know, whether I hear from folks on Wall Street or in Wallingford, the main thing that I get from last week, Senator, is what the heck was going on the Senate Judiciary Committee. And with all due respect, I mean, I know the Democrats, you yourself, have praised Senator Feinstein. Republicans that I interviewed praised Chairman Grassley. But was last week really the process that should have happened?
Last week, meaning a full-day hearing to Dr. Ford's allegations and a chance for Judge Kavanaugh to rebut them, I think was an important and appropriate moment for the American people to hear a credible allegation of sexual assault. The way that senators conducted themselves, the aggression, the sharpness, the partisanship, the challenging each other's motives, that I think went above and beyond and left the general impression to the public of bickering and partisanship not solving real problems affecting people's lives. I continue to try and legislate in a bipartisan way here on issues that affect both our standing in the world and affect working families.
And we're going to talk about one of those issues, but quick last question on Kavanaugh in particular. It could be you're going to vote against Judge Kavanaugh, Senator Flake's going to vote for him, but do you think that we're still going to get a vote this week? I mean, Leader McConnell said that.
I think we will for sure have a procedural vote this week. Okay. Technically, it may be a cloture vote. Final confirmation may be several days later, if that's what ends up happening.
Switching gears now, the Build Act that's up for a vote later today. This is another piece of bipartisan legislation that you've done with Senator Bob Corker. It really does oversees financing and really engages the private sector. Tell us about that.
It's been great working on this with a broad group of co-sponsors. Senator Corker, Republican Chairman of Foreign Relations, my lead here in the Senate. In the House, Ted Yoho from the Freedom Caucus, far-right group within the House Republicans, and Adam Smith, a Democrat from Washington. The Trump administration has embraced and endorsed this bill, has advocated for it.
And what does it do?
And it takes our existing development finance institution, the Overseas Private Investment Corporation, doubles its size, modernizes it, allows it to take equity positions and to partner with our allies in helping fight poverty through development projects that are privately financed. It doesn't cost money. It actually returns money to the U.S. Treasury.
And it really does involve the private sector.
That's
so
right.
If you're in the private sector, how would a private sector entity get involved to help finance some of these deals?
So let's say I've got a project in a developing country where the rule of law and the political situation is not as predictable or certain as I would normally be involved in, but I have a great chance to sell a whole lot of products or services that will help their development. I'll get a guarantee from this development finance institution that if my project is nationalized, seized, blocked through politics or rule of law problems in that country, it's essentially insurance. I pay a fee for that. But if the project goes down, I still can recover my costs.
That's huge right now, especially through the lens of China, because China has exponentially been investing in Africa, for example.
Dramatically.
And when we're doing these trade deals or having these trade talks, no trade deal yet, excuse me, having these trade talks with China, the U.S. really losing ground in terms of Africa and U.S. financial institutions. It's so important that they be investing in there. No, we have about 30 seconds left.
In the 8 years I've been in the Senate, the United States' role in Africa economically has dropped precipitously. China's role has grown fourfold. This is a way to deploy the American private sector in development projects in places like Africa.